Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Nara Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudiraye. नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविंदाय नमो नमः. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So welcome for the Bhagavatam reading class. Sushil Prabhu, I'm very sorry that you were not able to attend yesterday's class, but I will post the recording soon. So, if you see over here with yesterday, what we discussed is with this particular sixth shloka that a person with a pure heart does not give up the root of the feet of Krishna, and he's like a traveler who, giving up all that suffering after earning wealth, does not leave his house. So such a purified person does not give up the feet of Krishna. And same thing Narad Muni is also actually telling Vyasdev in Canto 1, chapter 5, that even though a devotee of Krishna sometimes falls down, but somehow or the other he certainly does not undergo any material existence like others, like the fruitive workers and all. And because the person who has relished the taste of the lotus feet of Krishna can do nothing but he can just remember the ecstasy again and again. So after this, Parikshit Maharaj is questioning more, because Shukdev Goswami answers the questions of Parikshit Maharaj in various parts of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And even Vidura is also asking some similar questions in Canto 3, chapter 7. And some of the answers are provided over here based on our study of understanding. And there could be some other sections as well in the Bhagavatam where these questions are answered. So, now Parikshit Maharaj from this 7th shloka is going to ask specific questions to Shukdev Goswami. That does the material world come to being just by chance, or is there any specific cause, or where does the master of Maya, Karnodaksha Vishnu, lie, or what are the dimensions of the universe, what are the characteristics of the devotees, what are the characteristics of Varnashram Dharma. So these are some specific questions he'll be asking. So let's see. Yad adhauta mato brahman deharambho saya dhaut dhatu bhi yad richaya hetu nava bhavanto janate yatha. Sushil Prabhu, please do the honors of reading the translation and purport both.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Sorry Mataji, it's nothing related to your any mission. I myself did not read the message, which was my primary duty.
No, actually we had taken a poll also of many devotees. So there were almost 22 devotees who gave their poll, out of which 20 devotees voted that yes, we want a class from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock, and only 2 devotees rejected the 9 to 10 class. So then I said, okay, majority wins, and that's why we kept it at 8 o'clock. But even I should have, given again and again reminders, classes at 8.
No, you have sent, I did not read. So Sir, my mistake. Nothing to do with you. I should be reading the messages every day. Just like, buffaloes used for that gunny purpose, they'll go on circumambulating without knowing where they're actually roaming. So my condition is like that. Sorry, Mataji.
No, Prabhuji. You are reading Bhagavatam, so your condition is perfectly perfect. Okay, Prabhuji, read.
Master, oh learned Brahmana, the transcendental spirit soul is different from the material body. Does he acquire the body accidentally or by some cause? Will you kindly explain this, for it is known to you? Purport. Maharaja Parikshit, being a typical devotee, is not only satisfied by confirming the importance of hearing the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam from the representative of Brahmaji by disciplic succession, but he is still more anxious to establish the philosophical basis of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is the science of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and as such, all questions that may arise in the mind of a serious student must be cleared by the statements of the authority. A person on the path of devotional service may inquire from his spiritual master all about the spiritual position of God and the living beings. From the Bhagavad-gītā as well as from the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, it is known that qualitatively the Lord and the Hare Krishna Mataji. Lord and the living beings are one. The living being in the conditioned state of material existence is subject to many transmigrations by continuous changing of the material body. But what are the causes of material embodiment of the part and parcel of the Lord? Maharaj Parikshit inquires about this very important matter for the benefit of all classes of candidates on the path of self-realization and devotional service to the Lord. Indirectly, it is confirmed that the Supreme Being, the Lord, makes no such material changes of body. He is spiritually whole with no difference between his body and his soul, unlike the conditioned soul. The liberated living beings who associate with the Lord in person are also exactly like the Lord. Only the conditioned souls awaiting liberation are subject to the change of bodies. How was the process first begun? In the process of devotional service, the first step is to take shelter of the spiritual master and then inquire from the spiritual master all about the process. This inquiry is essential for immunity to all kinds of offenses on the path of devotional service. Even if one is fixed in devotional service like Maharaj Parikshit, he must still inquire from the realized spiritual master all about this. In other words, the spiritual master must also be well versed and learn so that he may be able to answer all these inquiries from the devotees. Thus, one who is not well versed in the authorized scriptures and not able to answer all such relevant inquiries should not pose as a spiritual master for the matter of material gain. It is illegal to become a spiritual master if one is unable to deliver the disciple. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much. So, he's making some very specific inquiries. He's concerned about the even welfare of all the practitioners. Because if the Sambandha Gyan is placed properly, then he can, without offenses, move ahead in the path of devotional service. So that is why he's making these inquiries. So then further he's saying that he's asking actually that is the Lord and the Jiva distinguished simply by the difference in the magnitude of the body? So he's asking this question that how did the Jiva or both the Lord and the living entities assume bodies? What is the specific difference between them? So he's saying that Asidayad udarat padmam loka samsthana lakshanam. Yavan ayam vai purusha yatha va yavaika prithak tavan asava iti prokta samstha va yava na ivaha. Vaishnavi, please read this translation and purport both.
If the Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whose abdomen the lotus stem sprouted, is possessed of a gigantic body according to his own caliber and measurement, then what is the specific difference between the body of the Lord and those of common living entities? Purport. One should note how Maharaj Parikshit intelligently put questions before his spiritual master for scientific understanding of the transcendental body of the Lord. It has been described in many places before this that the Lord assumed a gigantic body like that of Karanodakshai Vishnu, from whose hair pores innumerable universes have generated. The body of Garbhodakshai Vishnu is described as sprouting the lotus stem within which all the planets of the universe remain, and at the top of the stem is the lotus flower on which Lord Brahma is born. In the creation of the material world, the Supreme Lord undoubtedly assumes a gigantic body, and living entities also get bodies, big or small, according to necessity. For example, an elephant gets a gigantic body according to its needs, and so also an ant gets its body according to its needs. Similarly, if the personality of Godhead assumes a gigantic body to accommodate the universes or the planets of a particular universe, there is no difference in the principle of assuming or accepting a particular type of body in terms of necessity. A living being and the Lord cannot be distinguished simply by the difference in the magnitude of the body. So the answer depends on the specific significance of the body of the Lord as distinguished from the body of the common living being. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. So, he's actually saying that Brahmaji, he appeared from the navel of the Lord. So does he also possess the same body as similar to the Lord? In the next shloka, he is actually asking. So there are a very series of questions he is asked. Almost, you can say somewhere around like 16 questions he has asked. Now, for example, if we had to ask some 16 questions to somebody, he might not even remember those 16 questions. But just check, in those days, people were Shrutidhar. They will hear once and they will remember. It is typed. So in that time, they did not have memory chips and, 8 GB and RAM and ROM and, TB and GB, nothing they had. The human brain is only designed in such a way that it can register many, many things. But the Kali-yuga symptom is only that there will be short memory, people will be lazy, people will be crazy, they'll be hypocrite, there'll be quarrel. The symptom of Kali-yuga is only hypocrisy and quarrel. So further he is asking that Aja srijati bhutani bhutatma yad anugrahat dadrishe yena tadrupam nabhi padma samudbhavah. So today our Lakshmi Narayan Prabhu is on hearing mode. So yeah. Tejashri Mataji, please read this translation and purport both.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Brahma, who was not born of material source but of the lotus flower coming out of the navel abdomen of the Lord, is the creator of all those who are materially born. Of course, by the grace of the Lord, Brahma was able to see the form of the Lord.
Yeah. Sorry, today actually my sister came and she changed my mouse settings. So I'm a little confused. Yeah.
The first living creature, Brahma, is called Ajaha because he did not take his birth from the womb of the mother, materially born. He was directly born from the bodily expansions of the lotus flowers of Lord. Thus, it is not readily understandable whether the body of the Lord and that of Brahma are the same quality or a different. This must also be clearly understood. One thing is, however, certain, Brahma was completely dependent on of the थोड़ा ऊपर दीजिए मतलब
Mercy
on
of
of mercy of the Lord, because after his birth he could create living being by the Lord's grace only, and he could not see the form of the Lord. Whether the form seen by Brahma is of the same quality as that of Brahma is bewildering question, and Maharaj Parikshit wanted to get clear answer from the Srila Shukadeva Goswami.
So the answer to this question that Parikshit Maharaj is asking, he will answer in the third canto. And that too, not maybe in the first or second chapter. He's answering the answer to this question that Brahma appeared from the navel of the Lord. So is the form of the Lord similar to that of the material body of Brahma or different? He's answering this question in 8th chapter of the third canto. So, and now in this, 10th shloka, he's asking that where does, Karno Daksha Vishnu lie, who is actually the master of Maya Devi. Sachapi yatra purusho vishvasthita sthita upadbhavapyayah muktvatma mayam mayesh shete sarva guhashayah. So I think we have some new entries today. Vanita Chauhan, please read translation and purport.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Please also explain the personality of Godhead, who lies in every heart as the super soul and as the Lord of all energies, but is untouched by his eternal energy. Undoubtedly, the form of the Lord who was seen by Brahma must be transcendental. Otherwise, how could he simply look upon the creative energy without being touched? It is understood also that the same Purusha lies in the heart of every living entity. This also requires proper explanation.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much. So, now these questions that are there from, okay, just let's read this shloka and then I'll just get back. Pursha vaya vai vai laurka sapala purva kalpita loker mushyavayaya sapa lairitah shushrumaha. He says that. Translation. O learned Brahmana, it was formally explained that all the planets of the universe with their respective governors are situated in the different parts of the gigantic body of the Virat Purusha. I have also heard that the different planetary systems are supposed to be in the gigantic body of the Virat Rupa, Purusha. But what is their actual position? Will you please explain that? So, so if you see from the 7th shloka to the 11th shloka, he talks about what is the difference between the bodies of the Supreme Lord and the different living entities. So fundamentally, what is the difference is the size of something or something more to it? So the answer to the is actually more relevant to those who are in Shantya Bhav or Dasya Bhav. So in his 11th shloka, he is asking that, are there any more details about the description of the universal form? So this is what he's trying to ask Srila Shukdev Goswami. So then in this 12th shloka, he is speaking that, please speak about the divisions of time and about the lifespans of the humans, the devtas and the pitris. So please speak about Kala, because Kala is actually the Shakti of Krishna, and it is the effect that is there. So, and because if Kala is Shakti of Krishna, its effect is actually Samay. So, यावान् कल्पो विकल्पो वा यथा कालो अनुमीयते भूतभव्य भवच्छब्द आयुर्मान च यत्सतः. So in this 12th shloka he says, somebody read the translation and purport both. We have Aditri Krishna. Please read, Mataji. Aditri Mataji's mother, please read. Aditri Krishna, please read. Okay, Sushil Prabhu, please read the translation and purport both.
Hare Krishna. Translation. Also, please explain the duration of time between creation and annihilation and that of other subsidiary creations, as well as the nature of time indicated by the sound of past, present, and future. Also, please explain the duration and measurement of life of the different living beings known as demigods, the human beings, etc., in different planets of the universe. Purport. Past, present, and future are different features of time to indicate the duration of life for the universe and all its paraphernalia, including the different living beings in different planets. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you so much. So, yeah. So in this 13th shloka, he is requesting Sri Shukdev Goswami that, please speak about the dimensions of time and about the destination achieved by karma. So, kalasya anugatir yatu lakshayate anvibrihati api yavatya karma gatayo yadrishi dvija sattama. O purest of the Brahmanas, please also explain the cause of the different durations of time, both short and long, as well as the beginning of time following the course of action. Some places there are no purports. So then he's saying that he's requesting that please speak about even the various bodies received by the jivas according to their karmas. Yasmin karma samavayo yatha yenopa grihayate gunanam guninam chaiva parinamam abhipsitam. Yeah, somebody read this translation and purport both. Tejashri Mataji, please read the translation and purport both. Tejashri Mataji. Okay, Vrinda, please read the translation and purport both.
Translation. Then again,
kindly describe how the proportionate accumulation of the reactions resulting from the different modes of material nature act upon the desiring living being, promoting or degrading him among the different species of life, beginning from the demigods down to the most insignificant creatures. Purport. The actions and reactions of all works in the material modes of nature, either in the minute form or in the gigantic form, are accumulated, and thus the result of such accumulated actions and reactions of karma or work become manifested in the same proportion. How such actions and reactions takes place, what the different procedures are, and in what proportion they act are all subject matters of Maharaj Parikshit's inquiries from the great Brahmana Sukadev Goswami. Life in the higher planets known as the abodes of the denizens of heaven is obtained not by the strength of spacecraft, as is now being contemplated by the inexperienced scientists, but by works done in the mode of goodness. Even on the very planet where we are now living, there are restrictions upon the entrance of foreigners into a country where the citizens are more prosperous. For example, the American government has many restrictions for the entrance of foreigners from less prosperous countries. The reason is that the Americans do not wish to share their prosperity with any foreigner who has not qualified himself as a citizen of America. Similarly, the same mentality is prevailing in every other planet where there are more intelligent living beings residing. The higher planetary living conditions are all in the modes of goodness, and anyone desiring to enter the higher planets, like the moon, sun, and Venus, must qualify thoroughly by activity in complete goodness. Maharaj Parikshit's inquiries are on the basis of the proportionate actions of goodness which qualify one in these planet to be promoted to the highest regions of the universe. Even on this planet of our present residence, one cannot achieve a good position within the social order without being qualified with proportionate good work. One cannot forcibly sit on the chair of a high court judge without being qualified for the post. Similarly, one cannot enter into the higher planetary systems without being qualified by good works in this life. Persons addicted to the habits of passion and ignorance have no chance of entering the higher planetary system simply by an electronic mechanism. According to the statement of Bhagavad-gītā 9.25, persons trying to qualify themselves for promotion to the higher heavenly planets can go there. Similarly, persons trying for the Pitralokas can go there. Similarly, persons trying to improve the conditions on this earth can also do that. And persons who are engaged in going back home, back to Godhead, can achieve that result. The various actions and reactions of work in the mode of goodness are generally known as pious work with devotional service, culture of knowledge with devotional service, mystic powers with devotional service, and at last devotional service unmixed with any other varieties of goodness. This unmixed devotional service is transcendental and is called parabhakti. It alone can promote a person to the transcendental kingdom of the God. Such a transcendental kingdom is not a myth, but is as factual as the moon. One must have transcendental qualities to understand the kingdom of God and God Himself. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Vrinda. Thank you so much. So, further, he is speaking about now he'll speak about all this Vedic cosmology also in this next shloka. Bhupa भूपातालककुभ्योमा गृहनक्षत्रभूभृतां सन्तसमुद्रद्वीपानां सम्भवश्चैद ओक्षसामः. Lakshminarayan Prabhu, please read the translation and purport both.
Yes, Mataji. Translation. O best of the Brahmanas, please also describe how the creation of the globes throughout the universe, the four directions of the heavens, the sky, the planets, the stars, the mountains, the rivers, the seas, and the islands, as well as their different kinds of inhabitants takes place. Purport: the inhabitants of different varieties of land, etc., are differently situated, and not all of them are equal in all respects. The inhabitants of the land are different from the inhabitants of the water or the sky. And similarly, the inhabitants of different planets and stars in the sky are also different from one another. By the laws of the Lord, no place is vacant, but the creatures of one particular place are different from those of other places. Even in human society, the inhabitants of the jungles or the deserts are different from those of the cities and villages. They are so made according to different qualities of the modes of nature. Such adjustment by the laws of nature is not blind. There is a great plan behind it. Maharaja Parikshit requests the great sage Shukadev Goswami to explain all this authoritatively in accordance with proper understanding. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much. So, further, he speaks about the dimensions of the universe, that about the activities of the great soul, about the definition of varnashram. So, and imagine when he's asking these questions are answered somewhere in 7th canto, 11th canto. And Srila Shukdev Goswami still remembers what questions he has asked. In the second canto, is answering it in the he's answering it in the 7th canto and 11th canto. So, Pramanam Andakoshaya Bhaya Bhayantra Bhedata Mahata Chanu Charitam Varnashrama Vinishchaya. So, Vinita Chauhan Mataji, please read the translation and purport both.
Translation. Also, please describe the inner and outer space of the universe by specific divisions, as well as the character and activities of the great souls, and also the characteristics of the different classifications of the castes and orders of social life. Maharaj Parikshit is a typical devotee of Lord Krishna, and as such, he is anxious to know the complete significance of the creation of the Lord. He wants to know the inner and outer space of the universal form. It is quite fitting for the real searcher of knowledge to know all about this. Those who are of the opinion that the devotees of the Lord are satisfied with mere sentiments can find in the inquiries of Maharaj Parikshit good lessons as to how inquisitive a pure devotee is to know things in their true perfection. The modern scientist is unable to know about the inner space of the universal horizon, and what to speak of the space which covers the universe. Maharaj Parikshit is not satisfied with only material knowledge. He is inquisitive about the character and activities of the great souls, the devotees of the Lord. The glories of the Lord and the glories of his devotees combined together comprise the complete knowledge of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Lord Krishna showed his mother the complete universal creation within his mouth, while she, completely charmed by her son, wanted to look inside the mouth of the Lord just to see how much earth the child had eaten. By the grace of the Lord, the devotees are able to see everything in the universe within the mouth of the Lord. The very idea of scientific divisions of four classes of human society or four orders of life is also inquired about herewith on the basis of individual personal quality. The four divisions are exactly like the four divisions of one's personal body. The parts and parcels of the body are not different from the body, but by themselves they are only parts. That is the insignificance of the whole scientific system of four castes and four social orders. The value of such scientific divisions of human society can be ascertained only in terms of the proportionate development of devotional service to the Lord. Any person employed in government service, including the president, is a part and parcel of the entire government. Everyone is a government servant, but no one is the government himself. That is the position of all living entities in the government of the social of the Supreme Lord. No one can artificially claim the supreme position of the Lord, but everyone is meant to serve the purpose of the Supreme Whole. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Thank you so much. So then he says that please speak about the various yugas, their durations, the yuga dharma, and these pastimes of the yuga avatars. Yugani yuga manam cha dharmo yascha yuge yuge avtaranucharitam yad ascharyaatmanam harehe. Then he's saying that please explain. Anup Prabhu, please read the translation and purport both.
Translation. Please explain all the different ages in the duration of the creation and also the duration of such ages. Also tell me about the different activities of the different incarnations of the Lord in different ages. Purport. Lord Krishna is the original personality of Godhead, and all the incarnations of the Supreme Lord, although not different from him, are emanations from the Supreme. Maharaj Parikshit inquired from the great and learned sage Shukadeva Goswami about the different activities of such incarnations, so that the incarnation of the Lord might be confirmed by his activities in the authoritative scriptures. Maharaj Parikshit was not to be carried away by the sentiments of the common man to accept an incarnation of the Lord very cheaply. Instead, he wished to accept the incarnation of the Lord by symptoms mentioned in the Vedic literatures and confirmed by an acharya like Shukadeva Goswami. The Lord descends by his internal energy without any obligation to the laws of material nature, and thus his activities are also uncommon. The specific activities of the Lord are mentioned, and one should know that the activities of the Lord and the Lord himself are identical due to being on the absolute plane. Thus, to hear the activities of the Lord means to associate with the Lord directly, and association with the Lord directly means purification from material contamination. We have already discussed this point in the previous volume. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much. So this is something very powerful, and many times Prabhupada has also said that, okay, to hear the activities of the Lord means to associate with the Lord directly. So when we are also reading Bhagavatam, daily we are associating with the Supreme Lord. And association, then what is the result? And the association with the Lord directly means purification from material contamination. So what is this material contamination that the living entities have? Material contamination means we want to enjoy this material world. We want we want to do sense gratification. So the moment a person starts reading Bhagavatam, he will no longer have the desire for sense gratification. And the soul's natural inclination is to serve the Supreme Lord, right? Now, what happens when the soul comes in the material world? His natural inclination becomes sense gratification. Now, to bring up from that artificial inclination to the origin inclination, then that's why when we read the Bhagavatam, then our natural inclination will be to actually associate with the Lord, to serve the Lord. And that is why when we hear the words of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, our heart gets purified of this material contamination of lust, greed, anger, pride, envy. So then further he says in the 18th shloka, he says that, okay, whatever questions I'm asking, this question includes not only the Yuga Avtaras, but also the type of bhakti that they institute in that yuga. Like for example, the Kali Yuga, in this yuga, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came. But then what was the bhakti that he instilled? He instituted the Nama Sankirtan, right? So he's asking that. So saying that Ninam Sadharano Dharma Savisheshcha Yadrushah Shrenina categories. Shrenina Rajarishina Cha Dharma Kruchre Shujivatam. Akshita, please read the translation and purport both.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Translation. Please also explain what may generally be the common religious affiliations of human society, as well as their specific occupational duties in religion, the classification of the social orders, as well as the administrative royal orders, and the religious principles for one who may be in distress. Purport. The common religion of all classes of human beings, regardless of whosoever and whatever one may be, is devotional service. Even the animals may be included in devotional service to the Lord, and the best example is set by Sri Vajrangi or Hanuman, the greatest devotee of Lord Sri Rama. As we have already discussed, even the aborigines and cannibals can also be engaged in the devotional service of the Lord if they happen to be under the guidance of genuine devotee of the Lord. In the Skanda Purana, there is a narration that a hunter in the jungle became the most enlightened devotee of the Lord by the guidance of Sri Narada Muni. Therefore, devotional service to the Lord can be equally shared by every living being.
So
Religious affiliation.
he's speaking about Mrigari actually in this paragraph, that this hunter became a devotee. Yeah, Akshita, read ahead.
Yes, Mataji. Religious affiliation in terms of different countries and cultural circumstances is obviously not the common religion of the human being. Rather, the basic principle is devotional service. Even if a particular type of religious principle does not recognize the supremacy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the followers still have to obey the disciplinary principles laid down by the particular leader. Such a leader of the religious sect is never the supreme leader, because such a circumstantial leader comes to a position of leadership after undergoing some penance. The Supreme Personality of Godhead does not, however, require to be under disciplinary succession to become leader, as we see in the activities of Lord Krishna. The occupational duties of the caste and the orders of society, following the principles of livelihood, also depend on the principle of devotional service. In the Bhagavad-gītā, it is stated that a person can achieve the highest perfection of life simply by awarding the results of his occupational duty onto the devotional service of the Lord. People following the principles of devotional service to the Lord can never be put into difficulty, and thus there cannot be any question of apadharma or religion in distress. As will be explained in this book by the greatest authority, Srila Sukadeva Goswami, there is no religion save or except the devotional service of the Lord, though this may be presented in different forms.
Yeah. So he's saying that please speak about the various types of dharma. So in this next shloka, he will say that please speak about the elements, the different elements and their characteristics, about the rules of worshipping the Purushavtaras, and about Bhakti Mishra Yoga, or so he's actually requesting Srila Shukdev Goswami. Tattvanam pariksankhanam lakshanam hetu lakshanam purushad radhana vidhi yogasya adhyatmikasya cha. Kindly explain all about the elementary principles of the creation, the number of such elementary principles, their causes and their development, and also the process of devotional service and the method of mystic power. So the answer to this question, he will describe in the 26th chapter. All the elements, sorry, 3rd canto, 26th chapter, he'll be actually describing over there. And then he's asking even about the Bhakti Mixture Yoga. So that will be described in the 28th chapter of the 3rd canto. Yeah, he's asking about Sankhya Yoga also and all, yeah. So then further, I'm sorry. So further he is saying that also please speak about the position attained by the great devotees, about the destruction of subtle bodies, subtle bodies of the yogis, and about the conclusion of the Vedic scriptures. And because now, so he also wants the complete conclusion of the Vedas. So of course, Sri Shukdev Goswami is going to describe that in the 12th canto. And about destruction again will be, I think, in the 3rd canto, 28th chapter. So, so there is a pastime about even Amrish Maharaj, how his power is, established. So this is what he's saying in this particular shloka. Yogeshwara gati linga bhangastu yoginam vedupaved dharmanam itihasa puranayoha. So this has a long purport. Matangi Mataji is on hearing mode. Sushil Prabhu, please read the translation and purport both. I don't see anybody.
Hare Krishna. Translation: what are the opulences of the great mystics and what is their ultimate realization? How does the perfect mystic become detached from the subtle astral body? What is the basic knowledge of Vedic literatures, including the branches of history and the supplementary Puranas? Purport: the Yogeshwara, or the master of mystic powers, can activate 8 kinds of wonders of perfection by becoming smaller than the atom or lighter than a feather, getting anything and everything he desires, going anywhere and everywhere he likes, creating even a planet in the sky, etc. There are many Yogeshwaras having different proficiencies in these wonderful powers, and the topmost of them is Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is the greatest yogi, and he can perform such wonderful things far beyond the ordinary living beings. The devotees of the Lord, the Supreme Personal Godhead, do not directly practice the process of mystic powers, but by the grace of the Lord, his devotees can defeat even a great Yogeshwara like Durvasa Muni, who picked a quarrel with Maharaj Ambarisha and wanted to show the wonderful achievements of his mystic powers. Maharaja Ambarisha was a pure devotee of the Lord, and thus, without any effort on his part, the Lord saved him from the wrath of Yogeshwara Durvasa Muni, and the later was obliged to beg pardon from the king. Similarly, the later was obliged to beg pardon from the king. Similarly, at the time of Draupadi's precarious position, when she was attacked by the Kurus, who wanted to see her naked in the open assembly of the royal order, the Lord saved her from being stripped by supplying an unlimited length of sari to cover her. And Draupadi knew nothing mystic powers. Therefore, the devotees are also Yogeshwaras by the unlimited power of the Lord, just as a child is powerful by the strength of the parents. They do not try to protect themselves by any artificial means, but are saved by the mercy of the parents. Maharaj Parikshit inquired from the learned Brahmana Sukdev Goswami about the ultimate destination of such great mystics, or how they attain such extraordinary powers by their own efforts or by the grace of the Lord. He inquired also about their detachment from the subtle and gross material bodies. He inquired also about the purports of the Vedic knowledge as stated in the Bhagavad-gītā 15.15. The whole purpose of the Veda is to know the Supreme Personal Godhead and thus become a transcendental loving servant of the Lord. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. So even our purpose of reading the Bhagavatam is also that we want to serve the Supreme Lord in a loving and devotional mode. So after this, what he is describing, he's saying that please speak to me about the deliverance from this samsara. What is favorable, what is unfavorable for bhakti, and about the various types of karmas. So he's asking for the details or the relevant details for karma vishra bhakta. Samplava sarva bhutanam vikrama pratisankramaha ishita purtasya kamyanam trivargasya cha yo vidhihi. Anuprabhu, please read the translation and purport. It's a long purport. 3 pages.
Translation: Please explain to me how the living beings are generated, how they are maintained, and how they are annihilated. Tell me also of the advantages and disadvantages of discharging devotional service unto the Lord. What are the Vedic rituals and injunctions of the supplementary Vedic rites? And what are the procedures of religion, economic development, and sense gratification? Satisfaction. Purport: Samplava, in the sense of perfect means, is employed to denote the discharging of devotional service, and Patisamplava means just the opposite, or that which destroys the progress of devotional service. One who is firmly situated in the devotional service of the Lord can very easily execute the function of conditional life. Living the conditional life is just like plying a boat in the middle of the ocean. One is completely at the mercy of the ocean, and at every moment there is every chance of being drowned in the ocean by slight agitation. If the atmosphere is all right, the boat can ply very easily, undoubtedly. But if there is some storm, fog, wind, or cloud, there is every possibility of being drowned in the ocean. No one can control the winds of the ocean, however one may be materially well equipped. One who has crossed the ocean by ship may have sufficient experience of such dependence upon the mercy of the ocean. But one can ply over the ocean of material existence by the grace of the Lord very easily, without any fear of storm or fog. It all depends on the will of the Lord. No one can help if there is some unfortunate danger in the state of conditional life. The devotees of the Lord, however, cross the ocean of material existence without anxiety, because a pure devotee is always protected by the Lord. Bhagavad-gītā 9.13. The Lord gives special attention to his devotees in their activities within material conditional life. Therefore, everyone should take shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord and be a pure devotee of the Lord by all means.
So, Srila Prabhupada has a very good experience of this poem on the Jal Duta. So, he also has gone through all this, and that is why, he is writing his own personal experience into this. Yeah, Prabhu, read further.
One should know, therefore, from the expert spiritual master The advantage and disadvantage of discharging devotional service. Just like Maharaj Parikshit asked his spiritual master Srila Shukadeva Goswami, according to the Bhakta Rasa Amrit Sindhu, the signs of devotional service, one should not eat more than what he requires to maintain body and soul together. Vegetable diets and milk are sufficient for maintenance of the human body, and therefore one has no need to eat anything more to satisfy the palate. One should also not accumulate money to become puffed up in the material world. One should earn his livelihood easily and honestly, for it is better to become a coolie for an honest livelihood than to become a great man in society by hook and crook. There is no harm if one becomes the richest man in the world by honest dealings, but one should not sacrifice the honest means of livelihood simply to accumulate wealth. Such an endeavor is harmful to the devotional service, and one should not talk nonsense. A devotee's business is to earn the favor of the Lord. Therefore, a devotee should always glorify the Lord in his wonderful creations. A devotee should not decry the creation of the Lord, defying him by saying that he has created a false world. The world is not false. Actually, we have to take so many things from the world for our maintenance. So how can we say that the world is false? Similarly, how can one think of the Lord as being without form? How can one become formless and at the same time have all intelligence and consciousness, direct and indirect? So there are many things for a pure devotee to learn, and he should learn them perfectly from a bona fide personality like Shukadeva Goswami.
So in this particular paragraph, he is talking about what is favorable and what is unfavorable for devotional life. Yeah, Prabhu, read further.
The favorable conditions for discharging devotional service are that one should be very enthusiastic in serving the Lord. The Lord in his form of Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu wanted the cult of devotional service to the Lord to be preached all over the world in every nook and corner, and therefore a pure devotee's duty is to discharge this order as far as possible. Every devotee should be very enthusiastic, not only in performing his daily rituals of devotional service, but in trying to preach the cult peacefully by following the footsteps of Lord Chaitanya. If he is not superficially successful in such an attempt, he should not be deterred from the discharge of his duty. Success or failure has no meaning for a pure devotee because he is a soldier in the field. Preaching the cult of devotional service is something like declaring war against materialistic life. There are different kinds of materialists, such as the fruitive workers, the mental speculators, the mystic jugglers, and so many others. All of them are against the existence of Godhead. They would declare that they are themselves God, although in every step and in every action, they are dependent on the mercy of the Lord. Therefore, a pure devotee may not associate with such gangs of atheists. A strong devotee of the Lord will not be misled by such atheistic propaganda of the non-devotees, but any of a devotee should be very cautious about them. A devotee should see to the right discharge of devotional service under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master and should not stick only to the formalities. Under the direction of the bona fide spiritual master, one should see how much service is being executed and not simply in the matter of rituals. A devotee should not hanker after anything, but he should be satisfied with things that may automatically come to him by the will of the Lord. That should be the principle of a devotional life. And all these principles are easily learned under the guidance of a spiritual master like Shukadeva Goswami. Maharaj Parikshit inquired from Shukadeva correctly, and one should follow his example. Maharaj Parikshit inquired about the process of creation, maintenance, and destruction of the material world, the process of Vedic rituals, and the method of executing pious activities in terms of the supplementary Vedas like the Puranas and the Mahabharata. As explained before, the Mahabharata is the history of ancient India, and so also are the Puranas. Pious acts are prescribed in the supplementary Veda Smritis, which specifically mention digging tanks and wells for the water supply of the people in general, to plant trees on the public roads, to construct public temples and places of worship of God, to establish places of charity where the poor destitutes can be provided with foodstuff, and similar activities are called purta. Similarly, the process of fulfilling the natural desires for sense gratification was also inquired about by the king for the benefit of all concerned.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much. So, dear devotees, thank you so much for joining in this class. We will go ahead with the 22nd shloka, because these are a series of questions being asked. And then later on, Parikshit Maharaj will inspire Shukdev Goswami to speak. And then Srila Sud Goswami will also give his concluding statements in this particular chapter. So we have something another like 7 shlokas more to go with this chapter. And hopefully we should start with the 9th chapter from tomorrow onwards. So thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Granthra Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji Prabhu. Hare Krishna.